philosopher's stone, the manna from heaven. Many different traditions call it differently, but call it what you will, it's the same thing. It's the thing we're looking for, the secret of immortality. Of course, they tell you that we're meant to live a certain amount of years and die, and that's it. Well, what I'm going to share with you today might challenge that belief. It's a belief, and it will challenge that belief. And to the extent that it does, if the science is correct that I'm going to share with you, certainly you can regenerate your physical organism with this science. So, and of course the scriptures tell you, seek and you shall find. Well, that's why you're here. And what I'm going to be sharing with you is truth. Why? Because we deserve it. In this world today, the lie is very, very common. They lie to you at school. They lie to you at church. The media lies to you. It's all lies. It's all lies. Lies everywhere. Certain Michael Elner once said, "The world we live in, doctors destroy health, lawyers destroy justice, psychiatrists destroy minds, scientists destroy truth, major media destroys information, religions destroy spirituality, and governments destroy freedom." Do governments lie?
No way.
Governments are made of politicians, are they not? How do you know when a politician's lying? He opens his mouth. When he opens his mouth, yeah?
No way.
And mostly they comprise of lawyers, don't they? And they're known to be liars. Liars and lawyers. Doctors lie. Well, yeah, they lie. You go to the doctor if you've got cancer, and you're going there because you want to be cured, don't you? But what does he give you in exchange for a cure? A cancer treatment. So they're liars, because they teach that cancer can't be cured. That's a lie, because there's thousands of cures for cancer. And the ones that find those cures that are natural, the likes of Jim Humble with his MMS solution, the 12 inorganic mineral cell salts, which I will be sharing with you today. Minerals, yes, minerals, cures. Minerals are cures for everything. And but of course they deny this, and they insist that there is treatments for you for everything. The churches lie. Did you know that priests lie? They're just carrying out a business. They have to lie. If they told the truth, there wouldn't be a priestcraft. And how do I know they lie? Well, it's easy. You go down to the local church, you go in there and you meet the priest and you say, "Hey, the church over the road, the different one, but Christian, like yours, would they be telling the truth to their people?" And he'll tell you clearly that they don't. And then you go over the road, and that priest tells you that the priest over the road is a liar and going to the devil. So that's how I know they're liars. You just ask them. And then if you should happen to ask them, what about the other 29,998? Because there's 30,000 registered Christian denominations in the world, depending on which authority you consult, but I've seen 30,000 many times, registered Christian denominations. And they're all telling you that the other ones are liars, you see. So that's why it's hard to get the truth. So today we're going to be dealing with some real deep truths. And I'm talking profound truths. We're going to be going into the subject, as I said, the mineral salts, and I'm going to be basing most of what I'm doing today out of this book. George W. Carey and Inez Eudora Perry, that's for the camera, Zodiac and the Salts of Salvation. And I'm going to be reading extensively from this book because there's some gems in here the like of which are very, very unusual and uncommon in this world. The human body is made of 12 systems. And those systems are the skeletal system, the muscular system, the nervous system, cardiovascular system, digestive system, endocrine system, excretory, immune, dermal, lymphatic, reproductive, respiratory. There are 12 cranial nerves. In your solar plexus, which is the largest of the plexuses, there are 12 nerve endings. The body is a whole system of 12. What I'm going to show you today is we're going to be talking about this marvellous temple. It's a marvellous temple. An alchemical laboratory. And if you keep that temple clean and pure, with good habits, you can restore your temple to perfect health. It is the temple, in the Bible it's called the temple of God. The scripture in the Bible says, "What do you not know, that your body is the temple of the living God?" And it's otherwise known as Solomon's temple, the soul of man. That's the temple of Solomon. In Solomon's temple, Josephus, the first century writer, informs us in his chapter 3 of the third book of Antiquities of the Jews about the temple of Solomon. And he says, "And when he ordered 12 loaves to be set on the table, he denoted the year as distinguished into many months. And for the 12 stones, whether we understand them, the months, whether we understand by them the months, or whether we understand the like numbers of the signs of that circle which the Greeks call the zodiac." Josephus. Oh, the churchgoers, oh, Josephus said this and Josephus said that. They might want to think about that one that Josephus said. Philo, these are all his works. He was a very prolific writer in the first century. This man's life footprint was over the footprint of the supposed historical Jesus Christ, and yet there's no mention of Jesus Christ. He was a Jew, probably one of the richest men in the world, who lived in Alexandria. Pretty much the most powerful family in the world, this family. And he wrote about the allegory in the Bible. There's 3 books in here devoted to the allegory in the Bible, etc. And this is what he had to say about the 12. "Then the 12 stones on the breast, which are not like one another in colour, and which are divided into 4 rows of 3 stones in each, what else can they be emblems of, except of the circle of the zodiac?" That's the breastplate of the Jewish high priest. He would wear around his neck like a necklace or whatever, or what it might have been attached to his robe, but they had 12 precious stones, sapphire, jasper, etc., right? Now this is Philo telling us it's a zodiac. For that also is divided into 4 parts, each constituting of 3 animals, by which divisions it makes up the seasons of the year, spring, summer, autumn and winter, distinguishing the 4 changes, the 2 solstices and the 2 equinoxes, each of which has its limit of 3 signs of the zodiac, by the revolutions of the sun according to that unchangeable and most lasting and really divine ratio which exists in numbers, etc., etc. I brought 2 books along of ancient days, connected with Jewish history, for the very reason of showing that it is one and the same with the zodiac. Because if I had brought a million other books from so-called pagans, then churchgoers would write it off. But the Jews themselves admit to this. So we have 12 everywhere. In Revelation, Jesus talks about the 12 pillars in the temple of my God. He has 12 disciples. There are 12 trees along the river that give healing to the nations. It's 12 everything, because it's your body. Your 12 systems. The skeletal, the muscular, etc. That's what it's talking about. And soul, as I will show you, is related to the salts, the minerals that I'm going to be talking about. Because salvation comes from this, you see. From salt. You get many words that come from that, like salute, which means health, greeting, salutation. In Italian, salute. Salute means health. Saluti means greetings. Same in French, salut. Salud in Spanish. And also in Greek, the word is halos. Halos, from which you get halo. You see, when you have salvation, you have a halo. Salt. The sun, known as soul. The French for salt say sel. The self. This is why you call yourself myself. Yourself, your soul, your salt. Because your body is a pillar of salt, of the minerals, the 12 minerals that are the building blocks of your body. So that's what we're going to do. Would you like to do that? That'll be nice. Okay, so to kick off, what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a graph on the board based on science. This sine wave here is quite known to people who love their geography. That's the globe of the Earth there, and there's the equator running through the centre. And this sine goes up 23.5 degrees north in declination, or in latitude, I should say, to the equator and hits the Tropic of Cancer. What's the Tropic of Cancer? Well, when the sun... See, this is the sun's path, the ecliptic. The sun goes through a 360-degree circle divided into 12 slots of 30 degrees. So when the sun hits there, the sun is in the sign of Cancer. That's the Tropic of Cancer. It's where the sun is. So the sun is in Cancer, it's hit the Tropic of Cancer. From there, it's got nowhere to go but to fall down and go to the Tropic of Capricorn. And it does this year in, year out. You get summer, winter, or 4 seasons, or 12 seasons, or 2 seasons, a hot one and a cold one. Take your pick. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy that, okay? And this map is an old map, and it shows the glyphs of the signs. Aries is there, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, etc., etc. So let's do that, shall we? Ah, yes. There's the Earth, the equator, Tropic of Cancer, Tropic of Capricorn. Okay? So we need to shrink the sine wave a little bit. So we start here at Aries. Everything begins in Aries. This sine wave is going through your body, straight through your body. Aries is the top of the head, and the two fish of Pisces, the last sign of the zodiac, are your feet. So, as I said, that's Cancer, and that's the Tropic of Cancer, and that's the Tropic of Capricorn. And so when the sun hits that, in the northern hemisphere, you've got the longest day of the year, and that's the shortest day of the year. And these 2 days are equal, the equinoxes. So you've got sort of the middle seasons. You've got hot and cold, but here is the middle, the equal, equinox. Everything's equal. And that's March the 21st, June the 21st, September 21st, December 21st. Now, this is science. That's the sun's path in the ecliptic, and as it goes through, there are 12 divisions of the sky. These are the 6 summer divisions: Aries, Taurus, Gemini. That's the spring. Cancer, Leo, Virgo. That's summer. And that's good. That's great. Photosynthesis, you get to eat. Winter, things start turning nasty at Libra. The scales. Libra sits on the scales right there, 21st of September. Judges the sun as it goes through down into winter. At that point of equilibrium. And from there, it's all downhill for the sun. That's why they call this the fall. The sun is falling. Falls through Scorpio with its stinger, bites the sun. The sun shrinks. Its beautiful rays from Leo, where he rules. In astrology, the sun rules only one sign, Leo. And it corresponds with your heart. That's why you always hear Leo, the lion heart. Or in The Godfather, the family Corleone. Corleone. The Corleones, yeah? Heart of the lion. It's always the heart of the lion, heart of the lion, heart of the lion. And those rays of the sun, they get so diminished that by the time they get down into November, October, November, the sting of the scorpion, you know it's the fall. Sagittarius, with his arrow, is also there to inflict more pain on the sun. And the last day of Sagittarius is the 21st of December. And that's the shortest day of the year. Death.
Is that in America or Australia?
No, that's just in the northern hemisphere. I always say that at the start of this. Please take note. Yes, it's opposite here, but the science comes from above, as you will see. That's the position of it. It's got its polarity. You can never reverse it. And I've explained this in my video. There's a presentation out there anyway on astrology that I've done. I forget which one it is, but I've done that in detail. Capricorn, Aquarius, and the fish Pisces. Now, the human body is here, the head is here, and the feet are here. How do I know that? Because I pay attention. All you've got to do, don't worry if you're not a genius, I ain't, just pay attention. This is an ancient depiction of the human body. There it is, Aries, the head, the brain, the cerebrum, Taurus, the cerebellum, the lower brain, the one that sits back here. And we're going to study a lot about the two brains today and the cell salts that correspond with them. It's very important for your mental balance and so you don't get depression. It's unfortunate when children go to doctors that give treatments and they're depressed, they've got no idea about the salts. And they put them on medication for depression. They end up committing suicide. Many people, probably 99.9% of people who commit suicide is because of the depressants that doctors who tell lies give them. They're participating in the killing machine of Big Pharma. And they're enjoying it because they've got lots of money in the back pocket. It's all about cash. They love it. So, let me see. Oh, whoops. What do we got here? That'd be the Last Supper of Leonardo da Vinci, would it? Yeah. Well, he knew his science. He knew that that would be the Son, Jesus Christ, at this point here. You see? And he has 6 signs to his right and 6 to his left. Everything starts in Aries. That disciple has got his hands at the head of the table, showing that he is the head. I am Aries. All you guys sit behind the table, I sit at the head, because I am the head of the table. There's Taurus, ruled by Venus. This disciple looks markedly feminine, because the sign of Taurus is the first sign of femininity. Venus rules there, and the moon exalts in Venus, in Taurus. It's all feminine. Cancer, the crab, he's got a knife in his hand pointing backward because that's the scaly, that's the crab's features, and he's pointing to the neck of Virgo and the absence of the Adam's apple, in indicating that that is the only woman, or the woman, in the zodiac. Leo, of course, he's got his elbow on the table because Leo rules the zodiac. That's where the sun rules, you see. He's the boss, so he can put his elbow on the table. Virgo, markedly a woman. To the left of Jesus is Libra, the scales. That's why this disciple is showing the scales. Gemini over here, he's got his hands up. Now, why would he be doing that? Well, because Gemini rules the twins, Pollux and Castor. See, Leonardo da Vinci knew what he was doing. And he gave us the signs. Notice that they are grouped in threes: summer, spring, summer, autumn, and winter. There's Scorpio hiding behind Libra, the next disciple, showing scorpion features. Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, Pisces. There's many, many other things that I can point out here, but I've done it in other presentations, so I'll leave that. But the points that we want to focus on always with astrology is the cardinal points. They are the gates of heaven. The Neoplatonists taught that souls come in and leave from those gates. This is the gateway of men. This is the gateway of the gods. These signs are very, very powerful, the cardinal signs. We're going to focus quite a bit on those today, because the creation happens here in the cerebrum, and as I said, in embryology, I didn't say that, I was saying that before we started the camera rolling. I was talking about this. In embryology, the first of the systems developed is the cerebrospinal system. Aries rules the cerebrum. Remember, it's the top. The cerebrum. This is the cerebellum. That's Taurus. Taurus rules the bottom half and the neck. And then Gemini rules the hands, remember, as Leonardo da Vinci indicated. And down it goes. Scorpio is here in the sacrum. This is like a big stone. This is 5 fused vertebrae. The sacrum. And below that's the coccyx. That's otherwise known as the cauda equina, the horse's tail, because Sagittarius rules this part here, the hips, and this part of the body. So it's the horse's tail. And then there's the lumbar. Well, that's going to happen, isn't it? Okay, let's have a look at this, shall we? Here are the 12 cranial nerves. In the cerebrum proceeds a fluid and it descends and it makes all the rest of the body, the corpuscles of the body. Because this is the number one gland, the first gland developed in the body. And as that fluid descends, it gets differentiated at the pineal gland and the pituitary gland into a magnetic and electric fluid. It then gets differentiated at the other glands, and the other glands do their making. So this beautiful oil proceeds and descends. It falls. It falls from the... This is the heavens. Here, this rock here, at the sacrum, this is hell. This is where generation happens. The bottom chakras. Sodom and Gomorrah. And Egypt. Egypt is down here. This is called Egypt. Below the kidneys. This is the midgard, the midpoint. From here one can proceed upward toward the heavens. And you'll understand exactly why these are the heavens. There's the optic thalamus, the eye that sees. When eventually the oil returns and ascends, that's what the ascension means, it anoints that, the optic thalamus, and then activates the pineal gland, and all the dormant brain cells are reactivated. And that is exactly what you see with these people here. They have their pineals activated. Oh, what's that? A halo. Remember the word halos means salt in Greek? Hello, greeting, salutation. That's why we say hello, or salut in French. Salt. It's all about salt. The science of salvation, the elixir of life, is hiding in the scriptures. What this wonderful book is about is about biochemistry. It's all about biochemistry and how to keep your temple clean and pure and chaste. So that the oil that was produced in heaven the manna that comes from heaven, our Father, give us our daily bread. It's also called bread. It's called the seed, the fish, because that oil smells like fish. It's called soma, the soma juice from heaven, etc., etc. So as it... I'll fix this. Ah, yeah, that might be a good idea, actually. Yeah, thanks, mate. Beautiful. So as it ascends, and it can only ascend if the condition down here is healthy and clean. If the body is chemically balanced, that oil will ascend. You see, this is why it's very, very necessary to be careful with certain ones promising ascension and talking about ascension. I mean, in the churches, they think they're going to meet Jesus in the heavens. It's a rapture. That's how they're going to ascend, because everybody's looking for that immortality. That's what the Elixir of Life's all about. But they've taken it literally, and they really believe that they're going to meet Jesus in the heavens and literally in the clouds, misunderstanding these beautiful sacred documents, which today, at the end of this presentation, you will fully understand. So, without going further into this too deeply, I can go on and on and on and on about the process of how all of this happens. But I have done this in other presentations. Your body is the Holy Land and lawful awakening in particular. So I'm going to leave that. And what we're going to do now is we're going to go into the salts that correspond with your body and the 12 systems in your body. Now, the salts are these. Potassium phosphate for Aryans. Potassium phosphate. Sodium sulfate for Taurians. Potassium chloride. PC, potassium chloride, corresponds with Pollux and Castor. That's a mental note for you. Cancer. Calcium fluoride. Magnesium. Potassium sulfate, sodium sulfate, calcium sulfate, silica, calcium phosphate, sodium chloride, table salt, and iron phosphate. These are the 12 salts, the 12 building blocks. What I'm going to do now is we're going to go through each of these individually, starting with Aries, starting with the head. I'm probably going to spend more time with Aries, Taurus and Gemini, because a lot of the magic occurs here, with the head being here, and then the nerves that are rooted in the optic thalamus, which branch out into the rest of the body from the neck. You see, our body is an upside-down tree. The roots are in the head. It's the tree of Yggdrasil. It's the tree that's in the Bible, in the book of Daniel. You see, Gemini rules the hands, the twins, and the twin lungs. And the bronchioles, in other words, branches of the lungs and the branches of the pneumogastric nerve system, is the tree of life. There it is, the symbol of the two trees in the Garden of Eden. The staff that Mercury is holding, Hermes, Thoth, Buddha, is the tree of life. And the two serpents intertwined on that staff is the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Because the two nerves that come from the pineal and the pituitary gland descend all the way down the spine, and one is electric and one is magnetic. In other words, positive and negative, male and female, and all of those polarities that you've ever known. And these, the two wings at the top, where the serpents are, they are the two hemispheres of the cerebrum. And Mercury always holds this staff, the healing staff of Apollo. And of course, Mercury is indicating that he is mind. Mercury is mind. It's the fluid that runs in your cerebrospinal system. That's the mercury. Mercury is quicksilver. Quicksilver means living silver. It's the silver, the fluid that you must turn into gold, as it is silver in the nervous system, and as it reaches the optic thalamus, it's turned into gold. And this is where your dormant brain cells are reactivated. And that's why the cells are so important, the cell salts. So without further ado, let's go through the book. Now, as I said, I'm going to be reading quite a bit from the book. It's going to be a hard slog. It's heavy. But it's enlightening, and you're going to love it. Every bit of it. I have highlighted all the key points that I want to bring out. I may have to leave some behind because there's a lot of stuff here. I imagine I'm going to be reading for about an hour overall. But you will appreciate it because it's very, very, very deep. And here, George Carey and Inez Perry, who wrote this in the early 1900s, they based a lot of their information on Dr. Schussler's work on the cell salts. So I just want you to know the modern lineage of this understanding, of this science. But it's based on absolutely more ancient wisdom. The Egyptians knew it, the Greeks knew it, the Empire of Rome came along and said, no, we'll have none of that. And they set about destroying all the temples of the Greeks and the mystery schools all around the Mediterranean. Athens, Alexandria, they burnt the library, destroyed all the system of learning in Alexandria, etc., etc. Jerusalem, there was a great school in Jerusalem. That's why they destroyed Jerusalem. They went around destroying all of these temples. Temples of God, I guess you could say. So, I'm going to be flicking through pretty much page by page. Now, in the introduction, it makes this statement. It's quoting from Leviticus 17:11. For the life of the flesh is in the blood, for it is the blood that maketh atonement of the soul. Atonement at one mind. Mind, that's Latin for mind. We get mental. So at one mind. To have one mind and to be in unity and to bring the oil back will take a long process, which we all have to engage in eventually. We can choose not to now, it's fine. But eventually we will have to ascend. Because that's how the ascension takes place. It does take place within. It's your temple. If it's not happening in your temple, it's not going to be happening by some vicarious salvation. It will never happen, as the church has promised. Biochemists have shown that food does not form blood, but simply furnishes the mineral base by setting free the inorganic or cell salts contained in all food stuff. Those cell salts that we're going to be talking about today need to be released, and they're in the food. Now, in alchemical law, the great work is commenced in the goat, Capricorn. They start here in alchemy. And let's complete the stone, shall we? The philosopher's stone. Hasn't got much shape, but you get the point. There's the stone. Focus always on those cardinal points, the 4 gates of heaven, because it'll make a lot of sense. And so, basically the idea of these cell salts, you see, it shows on this chart, might as well get rid of that, how Aries starts over here on the equinox, March the 21st, and then proceeds around and follows the head. This is Israel, you see, or Jacob. The name of Israel, before he had his name changed, was Jacob. You see, because he was a twin. Esau was his brother. And as his brother came out first, it was supposed to be Jacob. But in the Bible, Esau comes out first and Jacob's grabbing his heels. And Jacob means heel catcher, because Jacob always catches his heels. That's the heel. Heel comes from Helios, the sun. That's why you have a sole at the bottom of your foot. Remember the word S-O-L that I wrote? Soul comes from that. And the heel from Helios, the sun. Because Jacob catches his heel. And as it goes around, all the parts correspond. And the 12 systems, the skeletal, muscular, etc., are furnished by, produced by those mineral salts, the 12 mineral salts. And there it is. Aries, potassium phosphate, sodium sulfate for taurines. Furnished by the goat, and is finished in the white stone. Biochemistry is the stone which the builders rejected, and furnishes the key of all the mysteries of occultism and the allegorical goat. So you see, biochemistry is the stone that the builders rejected. You'll hear many interpretations for that, and there are many interpretations. There's 7. There's always 7 interpretations in the sacred languages. But you'll hear Freemasons tell you that the stone the builders rejected, the chief cornerstone, is the top of the Giza pyramid, which was built without a capstone. Well, that's the chief cornerstone because it's a cornerstone. Can't be a foundation stone, as they try to tell you. But the Freemasons know that is one of the applications of it. It symbolises the imperfection of man. And until we add the cornerstone, we won't perfect our bodies. And the cornerstone is always a quadrant of the zodiac, which looks like a pyramid. Because if you were conceived here, for instance, and you were gestating, the gestation period will be 9 months on average, all of us. All of these cell salts are developed in your body. They're all developed. But if you're born in Capricorn, say here on the 25th of December somewhere, you will be deficient in these 3. And that is the cornerstone that you should not reject. These are the cell salts. All Capricorns need calcium, get this, calcium phosphate. Of course, lime for the bones. Of course it's going to be here because Capricorn rules the skeletal system. And Aquarius is sodium chloride. That's for you Aquarians, Gary. And Pisceans, any Pisceans here? Yeah, iron. Iron phosphate. You need doses of it. Oh, sorry, I'm talking about Capricorns, aren't I? That's for Capricorns. Yeah, sorry. So this is the stone that the Capricorns need. If you're a Piscean, well then you need this stone, these three. If you're an Arian like myself, you need these three. And believe you me, you can see the deficiencies of all of those three in your faces. And that's what I'm going to be showing you today. You'll be seeing some of these deficiencies in all the signs. You can see them clearly. And when you take those cell salts that you are deficient in, those symptoms go away. All right, I think I'm ready to proceed with Aries. Shall we start?
Sure.
Thank you. He makes a note here in the start of Aries to pay attention to words. Because words, as well as letters and numbers, are the containers and the expressions of definite values. The reason satisfying information given herein has been obtained by the study of words, as you will see. Now, I've always been a words person. When I was much younger in my teens, I was born in a bilingual family. My parents were from southern Italy, Calabria. So I learned. My father never ever did learn. He still can't speak English. My mother speaks it well, but I grew up with Calabrese and English. You see, in my teens, I started learning Spanish and Italian, and then French and Portuguese, and then some other languages. I taught myself how to read and write Greek, Japanese, and a couple more. Now, in so doing, I was pretty blessed because I understand what they're saying there about the containers. The words contain.
Meaning.
Yeah. In fact, I used to teach people languages, and I used to do this thing where you could learn 1,000 words in 1 minute. Would you like to learn 1,000 words in Italian in 1 minute?
Impossible.
And I used to give people endings like shun. You see? Any word that ends in shun, or most words, like for instance nation, in Italian would be zione. So nation you'd say nazione. Quite simple. In French, it's the same as this, but you say nation, la nation, and it finishes with a nasal sound. In Spanish, it's Cion, la nación, Cion. Or if you go to Southern America, it's Sion, nación, like the French. In Portuguese, it's são, nação. So with that in mind, you've got 1,000 words, or a whole bunch of words in those languages. For you know now how to say, you'd know how to say, for instance, a word that ends in sion, congregation. You know how to say it in 4 other languages right now. Congregazione, congregación, congregação, and congregation in French, etc. Same thing with T and li. For instance, personality in Italian is personalità. In French, personnalité. In Spanish, personalidad, D-A-D, personalidad. And in Portuguese, personalidade.
So I suppose the second one links to Zion.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I can get into that, but I won't. I just want to do this quickly because I want you to understand how powerful it is to know your languages and words and look at words. This is going to forever help you to understand how powerful languages are. Very powerful tools. This is why the legal profession have their own language. It's called legalese. And they confuse you because it looks like English, but it's not. When they tell you you must go to court, you may do this or that, they mean you must. When the judge asks you, do you understand? That means, do you stand under his jurisdiction? That's what it means to them. They're crooksters. It's a whole separate language, legalese. And this shows you the power of words, and you're going to get a whole bunch of these words that's going to expose everything in here and prove that this is a true science. Biochemistry, astrology, astrotheology, all of them put together in one, because they are all one. The human mind is able to unify all things and to see with the optic thalamus the interrelatedness of all things, rather than the division and the separateness of things. In this world, this lying system, everything's separate. Those people are black, those people are white. They're Protestants, they're Catholic. Blue collar, white collar. Third world, first world. All of these categories that only suit their interests. Lì, in Italian, mente. For instance, personally speaking, for instance, personnellement. In French, personnellement. Can anyone help me? Is that right? I think it is. Spanish, mente. Portuguese, same thing. You see? And you can go down the list and you can just have 1,000 words in any one of those languages because they're all sister languages. So that's what you're going to see today. And you're going to see how the languages change as they go through different nations and different cultures, but they're still carried through. That's why this science is the original true doctrine. This is the true doctrine. You see, Jesus and the 12 disciples are all here. Jacob and his 12 children are all here. The 12 tribes of Israel are all here. The 12 pillars, the 12 trees, the 12 everything, the 12 loaves of bread, as Josephus and Philo spoke about. Okay, I shall endeavour not to deviate, but I had to establish that and then we can get into that. I think I've established enough so that as I read, you'll now have a grasp of what I'm going to explain. The ram, Aries, the ram, is an animal is known to butt or bat with its head when engaged in conflict. But the word ram comes to us from Sanskrit and means high. Ram in a Hindu name is evidence that one bearing it is of high caste. The top of the head is the highest part of the body, and man differentiates himself from an animal by elevating his head or walking upright. In Hebrew, the top of the head is named Calvary, for its literal meaning is bare skull. It is truly the place of ascension. There are many references in the scriptures to lofty elevations. One says, "Look toward the holy mountain from whence cometh thy help." As the Bible and all ancient sacred writings are physiological. The above quotation refers to the upper brain or cerebrum, in which is the marvellous all-seeing eye or centre of understanding. It is the lamb of the mysteries of Attis, the lamb of the festival of Cybele, the white lamb of the Trojans, the redemption of the lost sheep, the golden fleece of Jason and the Argonauts, the Lord of hosts, etc. Allocating this with the cerebrospinal system, with which Aries deals, an outpouring of energy takes place, flowing downward into the form to rebuild and rejuvenate it. You see, your bodies are doing this daily. Daily, the cerebrum is producing this beautiful fluid which descends. By the way, I just want to explain one quick thing. Oh, it's not. Thank you. That's very handy. That's going to sound really horrible on the video. Where's caduceus? Caduceus, that's called a caduceus. Comes from the Latin cadere, to fall. You see? And it has to do with the fluid falling down and then returning, ascending. If it doesn't descend, there's no ascension. If it doesn't ascend, there's no true ascension. That's where the ascension comes from, within. The Lamb of God, the Rama, the great and elevated, and thus corresponding to the human head. The Greek word Thebes, the Egyptians had their capital in Thebes, but this is the Greek Thebes. Interesting. Means head. There was an old city by that name, the capital of ancient Egypt. It was the seat of marvellous learning and the great art, and was said to have been destroyed by Alexander. The part of the human anatomy, the cerebrum, is indeed the storehouse of man, but it is the superconscious, not the subconscious, as has been so long erroneously taught. It's the superconsciousness, the cerebrum. Let us now consider another science, the particular branch of physiology which is termed embryology. Here we at once find a perfect allocation with nature's work in the spring. The cerebrospinal system is the first part of the organism developed, and from it the whole form materializes. Yeah, the whole body materializes from the cerebrospinal system. It's the builder. The cerebrospinal system has, as ancient Sanskrit writings inform us, its roots in heaven and its branches in the earth. The roots of the tree of life are the three nerves which ascend from the fructified germ cell. These later on form five and constitute the outline of the five ventricles of the brain. The optic thalami is the matrix from which the roots branch out and upward. And it is also the centre from which springs the spinal cord, the sacred Euphrates, river of God, which goes down to water the earth. From it, buddings form on either side, and thus the right and left sympathetic nerves grow, constituting the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Aries then relates to the cerebrum and cord, which constitute the Father, the Most High, the Creator or progenitor of the body, otherwise God, and the river of God. And a river went out of Eden, therefore the head may be termed truly the fountainhead of life. In the New Testament, the river Jordan is the same as the Euphrates and means descender. Remember the caduceus? The descender, the manna from heaven. Or the river of God does come down from above, our physiological heaven. Genesis, the book of the Old Testament, deals with the creation of man's body. The first chapter has to do with the formation of the animal cell, or lowest form of life, the amoeba, or germ cell, throughout which no human or other form is created. It does not refer to the actual animals themselves. In the light of this explanation, the second chapter is logical and not contradictory. For the animals, animal cells, are brought together into man. Man's body is an aggregate of animal cells. These are great choice portions. I'm going to read mostly from Aries and Taurus, as I said, because I just can't leave any of this out. I just can't leave anything out. And to read it gives me such great delight and joy, because these guys, this is a work of art. I place this book in the top 5 books of all time that you must have for ascension, for preparation for what's coming, for the gods that you will be very, very soon. But the warning is clear from this book. One must prepare the body. The body will not receive any kind of decent, good vibration or spirit if it is not prepared, if it is not poisoned by acids. And we're going to talk about that, how to alkalize the body. The breathing is so important. Proper breathing alkalizes the body. And it can prevent things like obesity and all sorts of things. Breathing, proper breathing. That's why the breath is so important. That's why many people have become breatharians over many, many years. And to research some breatharians, I'd be going with Hira Ratan Manek, who teaches solar gazing. He's an Indian guy. And another guy from England called Genesis Sunfire, or Jericho Sunfire. Check it out on YouTube. He's got a lot to say about breatharianism. The breath is the Holy Spirit.
Sorry, what was that guy's name?
Jericho Sunfire. Or there's one called Genesis Sunfire, and it's an interview from Italy. Put that in YouTube and you should get it. The skull is the cup of life and contains the essence of life, and we find much information in ancient writings relative to it. The Ha'idra Rabba Kadisha, or the Greater Holy Assembly, we find many statements. In fact, the entire work deals ultimately with it. From it, the following have been selected as examples. Therefore he carved out, that is, hollowed out, a space which he might flow in, meaning that the Creator formed the skull, a bowl in which precipitated spirit might accumulate, thus creating the cerebrum, or high brain. Remember, the cerebellum is the low brain. We'll get to that in the next chapter. Again, the absolute desire within himself to create the essence of light. The word essence is derived from the Latin verb esse. Esse, to be. In fact, essere is to be in modern Italian. And you get essence from esse. Therefore, essence means the substance of being, or the material necessary for existence. Light means life and also spirit. For the latter produces both light and life. A deficiency in any of these means deficiency in all. The great majority of people in the world have sufficient spirit to keep them going for only a few years. Spirit or father works with mother or material. One must equal the other for perfection to exist. In chapter 4 we read concerning the dew or moisture of the brain of the Ancient One, or macroprosophis. Always struggle with that. Macroprosophis. And from the skull distilleth a dew upon him which is external, and filleth his head daily. See, it's in our holy literature. It's in the Bible. The dew of Aaron on the head. Ooh, how it feels good. One of the Psalms. Oh yeah, it's the dew. And from that dew which floweth down from his head, the dead are raised up in the world to come. That's the dead corpuscles. The dead that will be resurrected is not the physical dead that are in tombs. That's what churchgoers believe. It's us awakening. And how do we awake that? By changing the chemistry in our bodies and awakening the cells from animal cells to human cells. You change them chemically as you perfect your temple. And this is the manna. And by that dew are nourished and by that dew are nourished the holy supernal ones. And this is the manna which is prepared for the just in the world to come. So the cerebrum is the spiritual brain. And this is why we ask in the prayer, give us our daily bread. Because the bread comes from here. World means body, the earth, world below, and heaven world. In other words, the skull and the torso. Manna, in its Hebrew, for its interpretation in the Hebrew language, is man-making. Manna, man-making. Please read the following until it is indelibly etched upon your mind. The brain, or cerebrum, is the first and most important gland in the body. The essence it creates flows through all the glands, but each gland consecutively differentiates its fluid. It is of a neuter or neutral nature when first formed, and would continue to do so if mankind did not take from it or rob it. Now, just a quick note, just a little quick one. The way you rob from that manna is by bad habits. Overeating, alcohol, oversex, over-sensation, over-emotion, all of that. And I just want to show you quickly, I do often show this in my videos. I always put this up. These are the platonic solids: ether, fire, air, water, and earth. These are called the four elements. And see, earth and water is the lowest, and that's where sensation and emotion and thinking, all of this is harmful, as we're going to see, to your bodies. Even the good emotions, the pleasure. Pleasure is pain. Until we learn how to be continent and abstain and conquer the passions that keep us down in matter, keep us hexed down in matter with the sensation, all of that, and we learn how to be purged with fire. Purge, P-U-R, means fire. This is purgatory, between heaven and hell. Fire is purgatory. And this is where we go through the fire, through the light, the Son of God, to get to the Father, which is the ether, which is our unconditioned, pristine state. We're still there. You are immortal, and your immortal nature is there. I often use the illustrations like a TV set, right? You put a brick through the TV, and you don't destroy the signal. The signal is still wholly connected to the station where it comes from. And that's the spirit in you. It's always there. You cannot cut that spirit off. It exists forever. It's your unconditioned consciousness. So you are immortal. If you're going to fear about losing your bodies in this life, well, that's fine. That's fine. We like to prolong. We don't want to die. We like to prolong the life. Living's great. But this is a mortal part of your existence. And many of the lives that you have had. Okay, so So he says there that this would continue to be neutral if we didn't rob from it. We'll learn about what robbing from it means later. Okay, let me proceed, because as you can see I'm reading a lot of stuff here and it's going to be hard to get through it all. The word caduceus is derived from the verb cado, meaning to fall. Therefore, the whole story of the fall and rise of man is contained in it, for the winged pole represents the cerebrospinal system. The winged pole represents the cerebrospinal system. The pole, the spine, and the two wings are the two hemispheres of the brain, or the tree of life. And the two serpents twined round it are the right and left sympathetic systems. The tree of knowledge of good and evil, and also the two thieves. Remember, Jesus died between two thieves, one on his right, one on his left. The motor system, represented by these nerves, in its present deficient and hence imperfect condition, has deteriorated and been perverted into an emotional system. You see, we have sensory nerves and motor nerves. You know, the motor nerves come from Leo, and that gets you doing things. The sensory, as receiving all the sense information. And this is the condition of humanity in general. Emotion means a waste of motion, a lack of conservation. All unnecessary motion constitutes waste. And when the nervous system is so depleted that there is no control over it, one is said to be uncontrolled or carried away by emotion. Where perfection exists, no emotion will manifest. And by this is not meant spasmodic control, but harmony. One does not need to exclaim, to weep, to shout, or to jump about to express what one thinks. But the eyes and face can express deep sympathy and understanding. So this is Mount Olympus. This is the heavens. This is Soma. This is Mount Meru, Shambhala. Right? There are many more references in sacred writings to manna, dew, honey, nectar, and ambrosia, the food of the gods, elixir of life, sacred soma juice, amitram, or amritam, or amrita, all referring to the creative esse of brain substance. Eliphas Levi, in his work on transcendental magic, says, "The human head is formed upon the model of the celestial spheres. It attracts and radiates, and in the conception of a child, this is what is first formed and manifests. Hence the head is subject in an absolute manner to astral influence, and evidences its several attractions by its diverse protuberances. The final word of phrenology is to be found, therefore, in scientific and purified astrology." The study of the word cerebrum gives us the following. This is why words are so important. I've already stressed that, and I don't need to keep doing that. Of course, if you've seen some of my videos, you know how much I love words. I've always loved languages, and I'm thankful for that, because now I can do all this. Or do it easily. Cerebrum. Wax. Neutral wax. Well, I've already read that. It's a neutral wax. And then it gets differentiated to form all the other glands. Sere is interesting. We get cereals from that, because cereal is seed. That is seed. It's called the seed. It's called the Christos, the oil, the Christ oil. because Christ is anointed with oil, or you are anointed with oil. It's all about oil. Another word that comes from that is in the word sincere. You see, sin means without in Latin. In fact, in Spanish, it's the word without. Sin leche, no milk in your coffee. Sincere means without wax. You see, in Roman days, if you were a sculptor and you sculpted in marble and you made a beautiful marble sculpture and all of a sudden a crack appeared in the face, well, that $500,000 statue now is worth about $20,000. So you've got to plug those cracks with wax. And it looks great. They put them in the shops, but they had a sign. They had a sign, sincere, without wax, on this side of the shop, all the little statues, and then on the other side of the shop they had with wax. So that a buyer, a discriminating buyer, could come along and say, well, oh, yeah, that looks good, it looks perfect. $20,000, I'll take it. It's seer. But if he's got 400,000, he'll get a sincere one. So that's the wax, okay? Again, I'm showing you the power of words. It's very powerful. And from the same root, we have the word for cereal or seed. The letter Beth in Hebrew means womb or matrix of creation. The rest of the word in Latin, neuter ending, signifying that the word has a neuter meaning. Truly, it is the cerebral substance of a neutral nature and contains or consists of all things. So we see that it's the land flowing with milk and honey, the wax, the beeswax. That's the land flowing with milk and honey. Aries then is the house of God, or the spirit in man. It houses or contains the brain, the organ of thought. Thought is Thoth. It's the house of God, Aries. If the mind is able to function clearly, it will throw light on every subject. It will illuminate and thus reveal all things to man. The only material which is so chemically constituted that it has the power to produce fire or light is potassium phosphate. It produces the highest rate of vibration of any of the 12 base mineral elements of the body. Potassium phosphate, the highest vibrating. Therefore, its allotment is with Aries. Potassium is a soft, brilliant, bluish-white metal melting at 62 5/10 degrees to a liquid resembling mercury. In astrology, Mercury is the messenger of the gods, or ruling powers. Therefore, we see how applicable the comparison is, for potassium is truly the food by which the gods of grey matter are nourished. This fire or light is nowhere to be found in such abundance and purity as in that subject which the Abrians call Hali-Kali. Hali-Kali. And in Latin they call it sal, S-A-L, alkali. Sal, alkali. That's where our word alkali comes from, Hali-Kali. In Arabic, potassium is given as al-gali, from which the word alkali is derived. Studying the word alkali, we find it means literally father, al, remember I've done this in other presentations, el, il, ul, ol, for instance, Olympic, all these ol, il, el, al, we get Allah, yeah? That's all God. And it turns up in Jewish, it's always El, like Israel, angel, chapel, cathedral, Bible, Babel, elder, the bell in the chapel, in the steeple, the aisle that leads to the altar, etc., etc. It's all L, right? God. And Kali, a Sanskrit word for fire. So, Father Fire. And you see, when you get the pH scale, 7 is always in the middle. You've got 1 and 14. This is alkali, and this is acidic. So this is why the number 7 is so important. And God loves the number 7. Because alkali, Father Fire, electricity, energy, and alkalinity is all here. Acidity, it's a war. This is the war in heaven. It's the war everywhere. See, Saturn, the sun is the father of fire, and Saturn is the father of acid. A little bit of a divergence here, if you don't mind. Al-Biruni, 1,000 years ago, one of the most recognised astrologers and respected. Saturn is extremely cold and dry, the greater malefic, male, diurnal, disagreeable and astringent, offensively acid. Jupiter, sweet. The sun, pungent. You see in Ayurvedic medicine they give you the 7 tastes from the 7 planets. Of course, everything is 7, everything. And everything comes from the 7 planets. And of course, Satan is Saturn. And it's the war of Jesus and Satan, Horus and Set, good and evil, or God and devil. Same words. It's alkalinity and acidity. Acidity will send you to hell and keep you there. It's acidity and nothing else that keeps the oil from ascending. Simple as that, because it consumes it, burns it up. And this is the science of how to keep your body alkalized. Alkali, Father Fire. I think I'm getting through Aries. There shouldn't be much more. Magnesium phosphate is the moving or motor salt. Calcium fluoride, the builder of elasticity. And potassium phosphate, the electrical salt. That's why you need it, because your brain, your cerebrum, is electrical. The pineal gland is carbon and the cerebral cortex is copper. And that's the only thing that produces electricity in the universe. It's a carbon crystal. The opinions of so many dietitians, naturopaths and others that the mineral tablets or cell salts used to supply blood deficiencies cannot enter the blood or be utilised are absolutely untrue and would not be uttered if these salts were faithfully and conscientiously tested for 1 year. In the first place, those making such statements as for instance, the salts are inorganic and the body can use only what is organic, show their ignorance of the interpretation and derivation of words. For organic does not mean that a mineral is changed, but that several have been combined with fluidic materials. They cannot be changed even by fire. Another fact not recognised is that the chemist is able to pulverise and triturate them into as fine particles as are found in plants. In Hindu, the goddess Kali is the most powerful deity in nature. Fire. Which is at the same time the creator, the preserver and the destroyer. Let me again deviate, for this is quite important science. Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva. Creator, preserver, destroyer. Cardinal, fixed, mutable. Cardinal signs, fixed signs, mutable signs. Notice the four arms, because there will be 4 cardinal points for the creator, 4 cardinal points for the preserver, and 4 for the destroyer. And there they are. And I think I'm finished with Aries, yeah? In his book, The Biochemic System of Medicine, Dr. Carey says the grey matter of the brain is controlled entirely by the inorganic cell salt potassium phosphate. This salt unites with albumin and by the addition of oxygen creates nerve fluid or the grey matter of the brain. Of course, there is a trace of other salts and organic matter in nerve fluid, but potassium phosphate is the chief factor and has the power within itself to attract by its own law of affinity all things needed to manufacture the elixir of life. And we know that this essay or substance of being actually creates the child in utero. And that's it for Aries. Beautiful. The others will be much less, I can guarantee you that. Taurus was worshipped as a healing god. Healing comes from Helios. The word cerebellum differs from cerebrum in its ending only. The first part of the word cere means seed. Bellum in Latin meaning war or antagonism, contention. See, this brain is warring against that brain. And they show it to you. There's the God man, the God brain, the heavens reaching out to the cerebellum. That's the cerebrum reaching out to the cerebellum. Because as a man thinketh in his heart, that's the heart, by the way. When the Bible talks about thinking from the heart in the Greeks, it's the cerebellum. This is the seat of the personality. That's the seat of the individuality. This is the higher mind, this is the lower mind. This connects to the right brain and intuition, which is directly connected to source. This is detached from source, and this does the reason and the logic. The trivium stuff, you know. This is the quadrivium stuff. This is the war that's going on. And God is reaching out to save man. And it is urgent that we save ourselves from the lower mind. Because that's where opinion is and countless and endless diversions that distract us from getting back into the heavens. Because you can only activate those dormant brain cells by returning the oil. Thus, contention or antagonism, it should not be. But because it is the animal brain, the bull-headed god of the age of the golden calf, it represents that stage in the evolution of humanity which is torn by animal passions. This is why when Moses came down and he saw that Aaron had built a golden calf, the Jews were worshipping the ram, Rama, the high place. Moses was trying to teach them, we've got to get into the higher mind. What are you doing? You're making an idol of the lower mind, the Taurus brain, the cerebellum, which is against God. The bull-headed god, Microprosphorus of the Kabbalah, is not cooperating with Macroprosphorus. They're not cooperating, right? This is why God reaches out. In other words, the animal man, Adam, is ever contending against God. For passion cannot hear the voice of reason. Seed, sere, essence, is destroyed. The word torus, or torus, as in a torus field, also means any round swelling or protuberance, a projecting part or cushion. That's what torus means, a projecting part, a bulb. Bulb, bull. That's the bulb of the roots of the tree of life that are in your body, the bronchial, the branches of the pneumogastric nerve. It is well-known anatomical fact that the cerebellum has such a protection and is seen in any chart. Indeed, it is coloured red on the charts so as to be outstanding. The subconscious mind functions through the lower brain, or cerebellum. To be sure, this is contrary to what psychologists teach, but the following is proof of its functioning process. Naturally, the cerebrum, being the spiritual brain, is the organ of consciousness. It is Rama, the Most High. In the Greek, it is Athens, and the goddess Athena means wisdom. It is from this Greek word that we derive the term attic. An attic is the topmost room in the house. Delicate wit is termed attic wisdom. Therefore, the cerebrum is the first house, or first compartment in the physical dwelling. When this part of the brain is chemically perfected, and hence all knowledge is obtained, consciousness or spirit manifests as the Christ consciousness. The term sub means under, and is derived from the Latin. Therefore, the subconscious brain, in which the subconscious mind functions, is situated under the brain pertaining to consciousness, or the cerebrum. It is, we may say, the basement or cellar brain where the things stored become damp and full of moths. How beautifully true is the biblical injunction, lay up treasures in heaven, where moths do not corrupt and where thieves do not break nor steal. The state of mind, then, which each of us manifests in our imperfect state becomes the divine bull by being yoked to the higher consciousness. You see, it becomes the divine bull when it's yoked to the higher consciousness. And this is what we're here to achieve, to yoke that, to receive God's hand and get into the higher mind by this process of ascension. Many contend that the solar plexus, remember I said there are 12 nerve endings here at the start of the presentation. This is very important, the solar plexus in this science. But an understanding of anatomy, many contend that the solar plexus is the subconscious brain, but an understanding of anatomy and physiology proves that this greater centre, which is a collection of 12 great nerve ganglia, and hence a zodiac in itself, is a receiver of energy and hence one of feeling and sensation, not of thought. The anatomy of the cerebellum. Here again we can check accurately the anatomy of the physiology of the cerebellum, for it is the motor brain, the mechanical brain. It does things. It's a mechanical, and it does all your things. You see? It receives electricity which Aries, the cerebrum, generates. And with that, we're going to have a break.